Story 3. God Sees the Truth But Waits. By Leo Tolstoy. Summary. God Sees the Truth But Waits by Leo Tolstoy is a powerful and emotionally charged short story that explores themes of innocence, justice, forgiveness, and redemption. Set in Russia during the 19th century, the story follows the life of Ivan Dmitrich Aksionov, a young and prosperous merchant living in the town of Vladimir. Aksionov is depicted as a contented and happy man, known for his jovial nature and love for singing. However, his life takes a tragic turn when he decides to attend the Nizhny fair to sell his goods. Before leaving, his wife shares a disturbing dream where she sees him return with gray hair, which she dismisses as a sign of good luck. Along the way, he meets a merchant from Ryazan with whom he spends the night at an inn. The following morning, Aksionov is stopped by soldiers and a district officer who question him about the Ryazan merchant's murder. They search his luggage and find a blood-stained knife, which they use as evidence to charge him with the murder and robbery of 20,000 rubles. Aksionov is arrested and taken away, leaving behind his devastated wife and children. In prison, Aksionov endures immense suffering, separated from his family and labeled a criminal. Despite his unjust imprisonment, he maintains his faith and becomes a symbol of strength and wisdom for his fellow inmates. His hair and beard turn white with time, and he dedicates himself to prayer and reading the lives of the saints in the dim light of his cell. Among the new prisoners is a man named Makar Semyonik, a tall and strong individual with gray hair. As they spend time together, Makar reveals his own story of arrest for horse stealing and proudly laughs when hearing about Aksionov's unjust conviction. However, Aksionov remains composed, not revealing his feelings about Makar. One night, Aksionov catches Makar digging a tunnel under his sleeping shelf. Makar threatens him to remain silent, or he will kill him. Aksionov does not fear Makar's threats, and instead chooses to stay true to his principles of honesty and forgiveness. Soon after, soldiers discover the tunnel, and the governor arrives to question the prisoners. None of them speak about the tunnel, and when asked directly about it, Aksionov denies any knowledge of Makar's actions. That night, Makar visits Aksionov, begging for forgiveness and confessing to the murder of the Ryazan merchant. He admits to planting the knife in Aksionov's luggage to frame him for the crime. Aksionov is deeply moved by Makar's confession and forgives him, embracing him with compassion and understanding. Before justice can be served and Aksionov's release can be granted, he passes away peacefully, leaving behind a legacy of grace and forgiveness. His fellow prisoners honor him and call him grandfather or the saint due to his profound wisdom and kind-hearted nature. God Sees the Truth But Waits is a profound exploration of the human spirit and its capacity for endurance, forgiveness, and hope. Tolstoy's storytelling masterfully portrays the journey of a man unjustly accused, whose unwavering faith and capacity for compassion shine through even in the darkest of circumstances. The story's powerful message about the importance of truth, justice, and forgiveness resonates with readers, making it a timeless tale of resilience and humanity. Understanding the text. Answer these questions. What bad habits did Aksionov have before his marriage? Before his marriage, Aksionov had a few bad habits that affected his behavior. He was known to be a handsome and cheerful person who sought happiness. However, he had a tendency to indulge in excessive drinking and engage in fights. He would often drink to excess and become unruly, causing trouble for himself and others around him. These bad habits of heavy drinking and involvement in fights were part of his life before he settled down with his wife and family. After marriage, he made an effort to give up these habits and lead a more responsible and stable life. B. What can be the meaning of his wife's dream? The meaning of his wife's dream can be interpreted as a premonition of misfortune or a bad omen. In her dream, she saw her husband, Aksionov, returning to town with gray hair, which made her deeply afraid and worried for him. The gray hair in the dream could symbolize aging, hardship, or sorrow, and it might have been perceived as a sign of evil or impending tragedy by his wife. Her fear and concern for her husband's safety might have been intensified by this unsettling dream, and it foreshadowed the unfortunate events that unfolded later in the story when Aksionov was wrongly accused of murder and sent to prison. C. Why did Aksionov think of killing himself? Aksionov contemplated killing himself due to the overwhelming weight of his past and the unjust suffering he endured. Memories of his undeserved imprisonment, the harsh conditions he faced, the company of other convicts, and the toll of 26 years in chains haunted him. The burden of premature old age and the feeling of being trapped in a life of despair became unbearable. Aksionov's wretchedness and hopelessness reached a breaking point, leading him to consider ending his own life as a way to escape the relentless pain and injustice he had experienced. Why did Makar disclose that he had killed the merchant? Makar's confession of the murder came from a deep sense of shame and remorse. He witnessed Aksionov's compassion and forgiveness even after being wrongly accused and suffering in prison for so long. Aksionov's act of saving Makar from the governor's punishment despite being the victim of Makar's crime touched him profoundly. This act of selfless kindness made Makar realize the depth of his own guilt and the enormity of the harm he had caused. Feeling overwhelmed by guilt and pity for Aksionov's undeserved suffering, Makar could no longer bear the weight of his crime and decided to confess. Aksionov's ability to show mercy and kindness even in the face of immense injustice brought Makar to confront his own actions and seek redemption through confession. Why doesn't Aksionov wish to return to his family at the end of the story? At the end of the story, Aksionov doesn't wish to return to his family because he has grown old and feeble during his long years of imprisonment for a crime he didn't commit. He has endured immense suffering and injustice, and the weight of his experiences has left him broken both physically and emotionally. He may feel that he no longer belongs to the world outside the prison walls, as everything and everyone he once knew has changed. Aksionov's longing to die in prison could be a reflection of his desire to find peace and closure in the place that has become his home over the years, where he has found solace in his devotion to God and the pursuit of truth. Reference to the context. "Up well, old man," repeated the governor, "tell me the truth, who has been digging under the wall?" Who is that old man?" "That old man is Aksionov, who has spent his 26 years in prison." 2. Which truth is the speaker asking about? The speaker is asking about the truth of digging an escape hole. 3. Which wall does the speaker mean? The speaker means the prison's wall. Describe Aksionov's character. Ivan Dmitrich Aksionov was a young and wealthy merchant in the town of Vladimir, Russia. He had a cheerful and fun-loving personality, and he was passionate about singing. Before his marriage, he had some bad habits, including excessive drinking and involvement in fights, but he transformed himself into a better person after marrying and having a family. Aksionov was falsely accused of a murder and robbery, which led to his imprisonment for 26 years. Throughout his time in prison, he exhibited great mental strength and endurance, despite facing various hardships such as losing his home and business. His faith and devotion to God grew stronger during these challenging times. Despite his innocence, Aksionov held his peace and endured the suffering, waiting for God's judgment. He displayed virtues such as forgiveness and acceptance, even in the face of great injustice. He remained truthful and steadfast, maintaining his integrity until the end. However, his fate was tragically altered by circumstances beyond his control, and he ultimately passed away in prison. Aksionov's story is one of resilience and faith, showing how even in the darkest of times, one can find strength through religious devotion and inner virtues. His unwavering commitment to the truth and his steadfastness in the face of adversity make him a compelling and tragic character in Tolstoy's poignant tale. What is the theme of the story? The theme of Leo Tolstoy's God Sees the Truth, But Waits is centered on justice, forgiveness, faith, and the enduring power of truth. The story follows Ivan Dmitrich Aksionov, who was wrongfully accused of murder and robbery and sentenced to 26 years in prison. Despite his unjust suffering, Aksionov holds onto his faith and belief in truth. The narrative highlights the pursuit of justice, the transformative power of forgiveness, and the strength of faith in the face of adversity. Aksionov's ability to forgive the true murderer and maintain his faith in God underscores the story's themes of compassion, redemption, and the ultimate triumph of truth and justice. Which symbols are used in the story and what do they indicate? In Leo Tolstoy's God Sees the Truth, But Waits, various symbols enrich the narrative. A house and shop symbolize earthly possessions that do not offer lasting support and remain futile in Aksionov's dire situation. His wife's nightmare of gray hair foreshadows his tragic fate, as it eventually becomes a reality. The prison itself serves as a symbol of Aksionov's suffering and his spiritual evolution during his 26-year confinement. Additionally, the book The Lives of the Saints represents Aksionov's religious transformation, guiding him to devote his life to God and maintain faith throughout his ordeals. These symbols add depth and meaning to the story's themes of suffering, forgiveness, and the triumph of truth and faith. Reference beyond the text. What role does religion play in Aksionov's life? How does he undergo a spiritual transformation in the story? Religion plays a profound role in Aksionov's life throughout the story. God sees the truth, but waits. From the moment of his arrest, he places his faith in God, trusting that only divine judgment can reveal the truth of his innocence. Despite enduring a harsh and unjust imprisonment for a crime he didn't commit, Aksionov clings to his religious beliefs and remains steadfast in his faith. During his time in the Siberian prison, Aksionov undergoes a significant spiritual transformation. He embraces the teachings of the book The Lives of the Saints, which becomes a source of solace and guidance for him. Through its lessons, he gains insight into various aspects of life, faith, and devotion to God. His readings and hymn singing in the prison's church on Sundays reflect his growing dedication to religious practices and self-realization. As the years pass, Aksionov's character evolves, and he becomes known among his fellow prisoners as Grandfather or the Saint. His meekness, acceptance of his fate, and commitment to righteousness earn him the respect of both the prison authorities and his fellow inmates. Despite his harsh circumstances, Aksionov holds on to his truthfulness and integrity. When he discovers the real murderer, Makar Semyonik, he refrains from accusing him, demonstrating his willingness to forgive and embrace the path of peace. Through his act of forgiveness, Aksionov not only displays a higher moral standard but also finds inner peace in the face of adversity. Religion becomes the guiding force that shapes Aksionov's actions and attitude throughout his imprisonment. It empowers him to endure the hardships of prison life and remain true to his principles. Aksionov's spiritual transformation ultimately culminates in his final act of forgiveness, which highlights the redemptive power of faith and the triumph of truth over injustice. In the end, he meets his death with a heart free of bitterness, finding solace in the divine justice he trusts will prevail. What does the story tell us about the existence of unfair system of justice? The story God Sees the Truth, But Waits vividly portrays the existence of an unfair system of justice prevalent in society. Ivan Dmitrich Aksionov, the protagonist, is a kind and innocent man who becomes a victim of this unjust system. The story highlights how one false accusation and a lack of proper investigation can lead to the ruination of an individual's life. Aksionov's arrest and subsequent imprisonment for a crime he didn't commit serve as a stark example of the flaws in the justice system. The authorities and investigators fail to conduct a thorough investigation, relying solely on circumstantial evidence to incriminate him. The fact that he is charged and convicted based on mere suspicion and without any concrete evidence reflects the arbitrary and unfair nature of the system. Furthermore, Aksionov's trial appears to be a mere formality, lacking transparency and due process. The lack of proper legal representation and the inability to present evidence in his favor further exacerbate the injustice. His cries of innocence fall on deaf ears, and he is left at the mercy of a system that fails to uphold the principles of fairness and equity. The story also sheds light on the role of social prejudices in influencing the course of justice. Aksionov is a merchant, and his previous bad habits and reputation become a hindrance in his quest for justice. The biased perceptions of the authorities and society lead to a rushed judgment without proper consideration of his character and past transformation. Throughout his time in prison, Aksionov maintains his innocence and faith in divine justice. His steadfastness and unwavering belief in God's truth demonstrate the resilience of the human spirit even in the face of extreme injustice. The author, Leo Tolstoy, uses Aksionov's tragic fate to criticize the flaws and biases in the justice system of his time. He raises questions about the reliability of circumstantial evidence and the need for a more comprehensive and fair approach to justice. The story serves as a powerful reminder of the potential dangers of an unjust legal system and the devastating impact it can have on innocent lives. God Sees the Truth, But Waits is a poignant portrayal of the existence of an unfair system of justice. It showcases the devastating consequences of false accusations and the importance of upholding the principles of fairness, transparency, and compassion in the pursuit of justice. The story serves as a cautionary tale, urging society to address the flaws in its legal systems and ensure that innocent lives are not sacrificed in the pursuit of justice. Best of luck.